Hi, and welcome to STEP. My name's Jordan, and for today's practice, we're going to be going through a modified sun salutation. So in the sun salutation program, we've gone through sun salutations A, B, and C, and we talked about how some of these can be modified by different instructors or different lineages to make for a different practice. So for this sequence, we're going to be going through a sun salutation variation that I was actually taught as part of my yoga teacher training. It's called a Lakshmi Rising Surya Namaskar. So you'll see how you're able to take the structure of a sun salutation and add different elements to it to create something a little bit more unique and modify it to the needs of your practice. So for this sequence, we'll start at the front of the mat in our mountain pose. Our first move is going to be to bring our hands up overhead on an inhale. Exhale is going to tilt us to the right. On our next inhale, we'll come back up to center with an exhale, tilting us over to the left. Inhale is going to bring us back to our extended mountain with an exhale, having us bend the knees and bring our hands down behind us so that on our next inhale, we're going to position our hands almost like we're going into a camel pose. So we're going to have the hands facing upward on our lower back to open the upper chest here. And we'll look up with that. From there, our next move is going to be to interlock the hands behind us. Your wrists can be straight or square, just depending on the amount of space you have in your shoulders. And from there, we'll take that into a forward fold. Once you reach the bottom of our forward fold, we release the hands and come up into an extended forward fold. And then we come down to our downward facing dog. And again, if you wanted to jump back into that downward dog, you can, but please be careful and make sure that you're warmed up and ready to do that. Once we're in downward dog, we're going to drop that left heel a little closer to the mat and lift our right leg up into a three-legged dog. Our foot's going to come up into a lunge. We'll look forward, make sure we're stable, and then bring ourselves up into this high lunge. From here, we're going to open up into a warrior two. So for that, you're going to rotate that back leg so your foot is pointing towards. And then you want your front foot pointing straight to the front of the mat. Front leg bent. We want that front knee as close to perpendicular to the floor as we can get it. You may need to adjust the space between your feet to get yourself into this position comfortably. And then our hands come out. We want them close to flat as you can. And our gaze goes over our front hand. Again, you don't want to scrunch your shoulders up. You want to keep them relaxed. From here, we'll come into what we call a reverse warrior two. We're basically getting a big side bend stretch with the right hand overhead. And then we'll move out of this and come back to that lunge with our hands framing the front foot, which in this case is the right foot. You're going to plant your left hand and then lift your right hand up into a twist. We'll come out of the twist, back into that lunge, and our foot's going to come back to our three-legged dog. Now from here, you'll have the option to either stay with that right foot up or bring it down to the ground before we move into our connecting vinyasa. So this is where we go through our chaturanga or plank, upward dog or cobra, and then back to down dog. So if you want to keep your foot up, we'd come into our plank, down into our chaturanga, before bringing that foot down for our upward dog. And then pushing back into downward dog. You can do that entire same sequence with both of your feet on the ground as well. Now that we've returned back to our downward dog, we're going to repeat that sequence with the warrior two on the other side. So drop that right heel down a little bit, and we'll lift the left foot into our three-legged dog before we bring that foot up into our lunge. Make sure that we're stable here. Open up the chest, look forward, and then bring the hands up into our lunge. Now from here, we'll be doing the same thing into our warrior two, reverse warrior, and then coming back down. Once we come back to our lunge, we're going to open up a twist with our left hand up this time before bringing it back down and taking back to that three-legged dog. Again, here, we'll go through that connecting vinyasa with that left foot either raised or lowered to the ground. And then push back to our downward dog. Now in this sequence, we're going to just stay in our downward dog for a few breaths. You can pedal it out if that's comfortable for you, or keep it still if you prefer. And on your next exhale, we'll hop, step, or jump to the front of the mat. Raise up into our extended forward fold. Relax back down. And then bring hands back up overhead. And exhale to mountain pose. So that's the basic sequence. And just like with our other sun salutations, we're going to go through and connect the breath and get that into more of a rhythm. So start again at the front of the mat. Take a deep breath in together. And a deep breath out. Deep breath in. And a deep breath out. On our next inhale, let's bring our hands up overhead. Exhale, tilt to the right. Inhale, brings us back up. And exhale, tilt to the left. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, slight back bend. Inhale, straighten back up. Bring the hands behind you, fingers interlaced. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, release your hands. Extended forward fold. Exhale, release down, forward fold. Inhale, walk the feet back. Exhale, push into downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot up, three-legged dog. Exhale, foot comes forward into a lunge. Inhale, raise up, hands overhead. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior. Make sure that front leg stays bent. Exhale, cartwheel down to frame the front foot in a lunge. Inhale, twist, right hand comes up. Exhale, hand back down. Inhale, step back into three-legged dog or downward facing dog. Exhale, chaturanga or plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, press back into downward facing dog. On your next inhale, left foot comes up. Exhale, up into our lunge. Inhale, hands come up. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, hands come back to frame the front foot. Inhale, twist, left hand up. Exhale, hands back to frame the foot. Inhale, back to three-legged dog. Exhale, plank to chaturanga Inhale into upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. And we're going to stay here for 5 breaths. And on your next exhale, hop, step, or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale raises us to a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Next inhale, hands are going to come up overhead. And exhale, hands to heart. All right, great. Now that we've moved through that sequence with the breath, with all the postures, we'll do it one more time with less cueing to get us through one smooth cycle. Take a few breaths together. Deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and exhale. Once more. And on your next inhale, hands come up overhead. Exhale, tilt to the right. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, tilt to the left. Inhale, return to center. Exhale, slight back bend. Inhale, interlace your hands behind your back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands on the floor, shins or quads. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, step back, and exhale, push into your downward facing dog. Inhale brings your right foot up. Exhale, come up into a lunge. Inhale, hands overhead. Exhale to warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, cartwheel the hands and frame the front foot. Inhale, bring your right hand up into a twist. Exhale, bring your right hand back down. Inhale, back to three-legged dog, right foot up. Exhale, into your connecting vinyasa. Exhale, we're back to downward facing dog. Next inhale brings the left foot up, three-legged dog. Exhale, into a lunge. Inhale, hands up overhead. Exhale to warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, back down to our lunge, hands on the floor. Inhale, left hand comes up into a twist. Exhale, hands frame the front foot. Inhale, three-legged dog. Exhale, into our connecting vinyasa. Inhale to upward dog. Exhale to downward dog. Stay here in downward dog for 5 breaths. And on your next exhale, make your way to the front of the mat and inhale to an extended forward fold. Exhale, relax down. Inhale, hands come up overhead. Exhale, hands to heart. Take a few deep breaths in together, in through the nose. And out through the mouth. Through the nose. Out through the nose or mouth. And one more. Thank you for joining me for this modified sun salutation. I hope this was enjoyable and that it gave you some inspiration for how you might make some sun salutations a little bit more your own and change them depending on your needs for your practice. Thanks for joining me here on Step. Have a great day.